yesterday, Megyn Kelly was on Piers Morgan, just freaking out about like the Bad Bunny halftime show performance. And I was just like, who cares? Like, who cares?
Yeah,
like,
I agree with Megyn. I want my kids being murdered in English.
Oh my gosh. It's just, and then she talks about, the illegals who are rapists. And it's like, we have rapists in our government right now, or people who cover for the rapists. Like, let's focus here. Okay, let's focus on that.
This is so big and it's so global and it involves so many different things. There's the obvious element that there's horrible, evil people in positions of power. And so now that's number one. Okay, so now what are they doing, right? So here's a question. Mm-hmm. What are they doing? What impact on our lives do they have? Is everything just to avoid these files? Are we about to go to war with Iran because of these files? How much of this is all a distraction? How much are they? If half of what's in these files is true, and I think a lot more than half is true, I think they will go to some type of, they would rather have a world war than to have this come out. You're talking about the wealthiest, most powerful people. Catherine Austin Fitts called them intergenerational pools of capital. Mm-hmm. They've been wealthy forever. I mean, would they rather go to war or would they rather this come out? I mean, I think they will pull out all of the stops, including inflame things, nationally, internationally. If this stuff comes out, I think we're looking at, I don't want to be dramatic. I'm not going to say the toppling of the government, but very near to something like that. Something as substantive as that all over the world. And you're seeing it in Europe and the UK already. You're seeing a massive response to this. I think that there are people who would rather have a world war than have these things come to light.
I mean, Israel definitely would want that. And Israel is...
I was thinking Scotland, but yes, now that you've brought it up, perhaps Israel.
I mean, Netanyahu just landed. He's back in the States, ready to meet with Trump tomorrow.
We've missed him. He's back and he's better than ever. Bibi's back and he's better than ever.
So Tim, you were on to the Epstein-Israel connection earlier than most. Like the first time I heard anyone talk about it publicly was actually when you were on Rogan. And I was like, that's interesting.
I got to give credit to Whitney Webb. Mm-hmm. And Whitney Webb, who is a journalist who many people know, probably who watch your show, certainly watch my show. Whitney has done more research than anyone into this. And I'm not out there like, she's really going through documents and she's, doing the work of an actual journalist. And I had her on years ago and she called this out years ago. And she was calling out Wexner, Epstein. This was 7 years ago, a long time ago. So I have to give her credit for that. But it was obvious connection. Like she did the work, but it seemed very obvious. And I know there's a very uncomfortable thing that people don't want to discuss. And there's a lot of reasons for that. But you lose all credibility if you're unwilling to grant, at the very least, the possibility that there's a long-standing relationship between Jeffrey Epstein and elements of the Israeli government and intelligence service. If you're not willing to grant that possibility, I believe it's more than a possibility. I believe it's a fact. But if you're unwilling to grant even the possibility, it's very hard to trust you as a fair-minded person who's looking at things with clear eyes. You can't, this idea that he was a Russian asset, he was working for Russia, it's actually, by the way, it'll never not be Russia in our country. Have you realized that? It's always Russia. It's always, you would think Putin is building up military outside of Florida, the way these people talk about Putin. It's Putin and Russia, no matter what. It's Putin and Russia, and Epstein comes out and just, they revert to form. The Cold War, kind of liberal, not liberal even politically, but the Cold War, like liberal order internationalists who are like, it's always Russia. So, I mean, that's so silly. I mean, Ehud Barak was not the prime minister of Russia. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Jeffrey Epstein,
sure do.
Was back channeling with Putin, but again, on behalf of Ehud Barak.
Exactly.
So
and that's always missing. Yeah. That's always missing from US reporting, right?
Yes.
Which really, I noticed that French press has been covering the connections to Israel. Obviously, Al Jazeera has been doing that as well.
Yeah.
But the US media is staying away from that topic like their life depends on it. I mean, I brought up the Israel connections during my last appearance on Piers Morgan's show. And literally, they moved on. They pivoted to Russia immediately.
Right.
No one commented on the Israel angle. They just moved on to Russia. And yeah, I agree with you. It is embarrassing when you are willing to pursue a blackmail pedophile ring in order to have dirt and blackmail on powerful people in the United States so you can control US foreign policy. But to be fair, Tim, it helped me understand the lack of concern about all the kids that have been slaughtered by the Israelis. So there's that.
Yeah, I mean, listen, there's a very deeply unhealthy relationship between our two countries. And when you start looking at why, it's impossible to not start looking at this material, obviously. It starts to make a lot more sense. You go, there is a deeply unhealthy relationship between the two countries. And a lot of people don't think it makes sense. A lot of Jewish people don't think it makes sense. People all over the world don't think it makes sense. And this gives you a insight into one of the reasons or several of the reasons why that is.
Yeah, totally. And what's also kind of interesting about all of this is seeing who is kind of willing to risk a little bit of their career and their future opportunities to just tell the truth about what's going on. You've been doing it pretty aggressively, which is why
if I lose my deal with Disney Plus, if I lose my family sitcom with Disney Plus, I will go nuts. Listen, you have to be honest about the things that are happening if you want to have any credibility with anyone. If I want anyone to listen to me, I can't come on here and go, well, it seems he was Russian, in the hopes that one day that would benefit me later on. That would be psychotic. That would be psychotic. It's clearly obvious to any thinking person. The man was deeply enmeshed, however you want to say it. Maybe he wasn't Mossad. I don't think he was Mossad. I think he was above Mossad. I think he operated in a sphere that many people don't understand, which is above intelligence. It's a layer above intelligence where you have really wealthy people, powerful interests, current and former government employees, and they use intelligence as a way to get what they want done. So I think he operated. I don't think he was a guy who was like a low level. I don't think he was the highest level guy, but I think he was somebody who was well known to be operating in this gray area, in this space that most people don't understand. It's a dimension of power most people don't understand. They tend not to think it exists. They tend to think it's an imaginary concept, or that it's conspiracy thinking, or you're, saying, well, actually, or you're reading all this stuff the wrong way and you're connecting all these dots that aren't connected. No, I don't think so. I think it's a dimension of power that does exist. And I think the elections are largely a show. Doesn't mean that they don't have consequences. It doesn't mean that domestic policy doesn't change. It doesn't mean that abortion and gay marriage and education, whatever, and things that do affect people's lives. I'm not saying that they don't matter. But it's impossible when you look at the foreign policy we've had, the economic policy that we've had. No matter who gets elected, you get a variation of the same things.
Yes. Yeah, you do.
So then you got to think to yourself, well, why is that happening? And I said, when I went on Tucker's show, why would a senator who, might have been, I don't know, might have been like, Marjorie Taylor Greene ran a construction company, very accomplished person who I like. But why would a billionaire allow a senator like Marjorie Taylor Greene to jeopardize what a billionaire wanted to do? So this idea that, we haul these people in front of Congress, we give them a lashing, we give them a talking to, and that they listen to us, that realm of power above Congress and outside of government, that's where they manipulate people, blackmail them, kill them to get what they want. So that, and we're only starting to understand what that is as a country, as a collective, and as a world, even though there's a lot of people that have understood it for a very, very long time.
Yeah, and I'm happy that people are starting to see it for what it is, because maybe there's a chance for people to put their partisan issues aside, at least for now.
I hope so.
And focus on, we have to unite in order to beat this or fight this, you know what I mean? And there should be a reckoning. I don't know what that's gonna look like. There are a handful of people in Congress who seem to give a damn about this. Thomas Massie, Ro Khanna.
Isn't it shocking? It's two guys. And then a handful of other people.
Handful of other people who kind of jumped on the wagon
jumped
later.
on the bandwagon. Yeah.
But I gotta give Marjorie Taylor Greene a lot of credit, because her pursuing the release of the files destroyed her relationship with Donald Trump. And so there are consequences to doing the right thing here.
You know that moment right before you launch something new, that pit in your stomach? I remember when I started TYT, I thought to myself, what if no one watches? What if we run out of money tomorrow? It was scary. Still think about that every once in a while, but you push through, and having the right tools makes all the difference. Like when we launched Shop TYT, Shopify was a lifesaver. We used it and we loved it. If you're starting a business, those what ifs can be terrifying, and that's where Shopify comes in. What if I can't build a good looking website? Shopify has hundreds of templates to build a beautiful online store that actually matches your brand. What if people haven't heard of my brand? Shopify helps you to get the word out with easy to run email and social campaigns. What if I get stuck or have a question in the process? Their award-winning 24/7 support is there with expert advice. And the best part, that iconic purple Shop Pay button. It's why Shopify has the best converting checkout on the planet. Less abandoned carts, more sales for you. It's time to turn those what ifs into with Shopify today. Sign up for your $1 per month trial today at shopify.com/TYT. Go to shopify.com/TYT. That's shopify.com/TYT. Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.